esteemed professionals like yourself from a company like McAvoy, where I started in 2003 when we were a £12 million a year cabin maker, and now I'm standing up talking about BIM and offsite construction and talking to the great and the good of the construction industry and in general in Ireland. So thank you very much indeed. I'm going to point out I'm a down man, not actually, but despite almost 16 years in Tyrone and the odd twang coming in, depending on what subby I'm talking to, I'm a down man, I'm afraid. So I've never adopted, no. Thanks very much. I'm going to talk to you this morning a little bit of a background on the group, on McAvoy, if you don't already know, and talk a little bit about BIM. Clearly, it's one of the key topics, and our experience in terms of delivering new homes. It's a relatively new sector for us, and talk about some of the challenges and some of the innovations. So a quick bit about the group. We're a family-owned business established in 1972, so we're coming up on 50 years, independent, still owned by the McAvoy family. As I say, when I started in 2003, we made jack-leg cabins, turned over £12 million a year and made £2 million profit. So you think a great business. Not long after that, people started to copy, and you need to continue to innovate in order to stay ahead. And obviously we've had our ups and downs. The crash in 2008 didn't help. Almost 60% of our market disappeared in the Republic of Ireland. So we had to regroup and refocus, invest in innovation in people, and invest in new markets, and that's been a great success. So some smart facts: we were the first off-site construction company to be BIM Level 2 certified in March 2016, as per the UK government's mandate. So we invested significant sums of money in terms of people and capital and resource and technology, ready for the avalanche of new inquiries that were going to come through because of our BIM accreditation. Sadly, we didn't have any, because I think, as has been well noted, the public sector wasn't ready. A lot of our customers weren't ready. Now, as it happens, it's become part and parcel to our business in terms of how we manage and deliver projects. It helps significantly in terms of productivity and the lean processes. We focus predominantly on public sector. We've been building schools for the last number of years. The real catalyst for the growth of the business was winning a large amount of free schools and academies sponsored by the Department of Education in the UK, who I'm going to talk a little bit later on in terms of how they're driving the innovation in terms of procurement and standardisation. We use VR as a significant piece of our business as well. Glad to see that the Revit monopoly hasn't stretched as far as Denmark. You're also a fellow ArchiCAD user, Dag, so with the greatest respect to our colleagues at the end of the room. So we have a couple of factories based in Northern Ireland, one in Lisburn, one in Dungannon, 125,000 square feet, and we are very close to a significant investment in the UK to expand our capacity, at least double our turnover by 2022. So why offsite? David spoke about it very eloquently, as did Dag. The UK government has got some very lofty aspirations for 2025, this Construction 2025 agenda, a 33% lowering of costs, not only in terms of construction, but also in use, 50% reduction in CO2 emissions, again, not only in construction, but also in use, 50% faster delivery, and a 50% improvement in the balance of trade of construction export materials. Those are lofty aspirations, and we're not too far away from 2025. I don't know how close we are. I don't know who's measuring this. I don't know what the metrics are. I don't know where the data is being generated from. I'm hoping we're not paying lip service to it, but because it is a real challenge for us all. But anyway, that gives you some context. Clearly, we've talked about the benefits in general terms: safer, faster, enhanced collaboration, reduced whole life costs, less waste. It's a lean process. Greater build quality, exceptional flexibility, faster return on investment, and that particular one is much more prevalent in Ireland of late, because a lot of our clients are potentially private sector clients, and they're looking for a return on their investment, especially when building residential properties. So I want to give us some context. Off-site construction is being talked about a lot. We've obviously been very subjective about our views on this for a long time, but anybody who fancies a bit of light reading, I would recommend the Farmer Report. It's actually quite depressing, but it shows a roadmap, which I think is important for us. Mark Farmer is a respected project manager and construction professional, and he published this back in 2017, Modernise or Die. So this is an existential document for construction. This identifies the deep-seated issues we have in our industry around productivity, around procurement, around quality. So he used a medical analogy when he wrote this report, talking about identifying the symptoms, diagnosing the root causes, establishing a treatment plan for recovery, and keeping the industry under observation. So what did he uncover with his report? Well, things we all know about, and things we all need to collectively help to address. Low productivity in construction, low predictability, structural fragmentation in terms of the marketplace, leadership fragmentation, low margins, adversarial pricing. I mean, that's the key message for us. I presented something along the lines of this to the SASI last year, and I opened up by saying we need to make more money in our industry, the margins need to be better, and there was a collective intake of breath. But Carillion, Kier, Donnis Construction in the UK, gone into administration, Interserve. I mean, do I need to say more about the fundamental issues with construction in general terms? The margins simply aren't there. It doesn't allow us to invest in R&D and invest in people and innovation and actually grow and expand our capacity. And we have a poor industry image. The CIOB, I'm a charter builder, they did a survey last year of 4,000 school kids between the ages of 14 and 18, and the results were pretty depressing. The image of our industry is poor. That particular demographic saw it as a low skill, low paid, cold, wet, windy, digging holes in the ground, wearing yellow vests. They didn't see the architects and surveyors and engineers and highly qualified people that it takes to actually deliver the infrastructure for our country. So, some serious issues. So what does he recommend? He made a number of recommendations, 23 in total. I've picked out the one that's most relevant from our perspective. And this doesn't roll off the tongue that easily, but I'm going to quote verbatim. Industry, clients and government should work together to improve relationships and increase levels of investment in R&D and innovation in construction by changing commissioning trends from traditional to pre-manufactured approaches. The housing sector should be used as a scalable pilot programme for this integrated approach. Music to our ears. He talks about an initiation stimulus, and actually, ironically, what's happened is that it's not been the housing sector that has pushed this button. We've been working quite closely with the Department for Education in the UK, and I referenced them earlier. We're involved with a project called Seismic, and the Department for Education have been one of the biggest advocates of offsite construction in the UK. There's a requirement for 400,000 new school places by 2021. That's a new school every week. DFE in the UK are pushing the offsite agenda massively. There are a number of very successful contractors in our space. They've recognised that, but they've also recognised that there's a fragmentation around what's being delivered, and they want standardisation. And so they've sponsored a project called Seismic, where there's a number of individuals and a number of stakeholders or actors involved, including the MTC, the Manufacturing Technology Centre, Innovate UK, the department themselves, Bryden Wood, a very well-respected architectural firm, and for the first time a couple of competitors, so us and a very big competitor of ours, and we've been tasked with coming up with a system design that will allow the design and procurement of new schools to be expedited much more quickly, because it's quite standardised. These are schools at the end of the day, and there's a huge requirement. Off the back of the Farmer report, the House of Lords published this white paper, which we contributed to, but essentially it took a lot of the messages from Farmer, and they have come up with this fantastic, we can't quite take it to the bank yet, but this is their finding. The government has a presumption in favour of offsite manufacture and has affirmed its commitment to investing in offsite in the construction sector deal. We strongly support this direction of travel. Like I say, the Department for Education have been the leaders of that. Other departments may follow. Again, procurement-wise, it's a completely revolutionary approach. It's not lowest cost race to the bottom. It's a collaborative, shared pay and gain scenario. So they talk about BIM in some of their actions to overcome the barriers. presumption in favour of Offsite, a provision of a steady pipeline of projects, fundamental for any business, but especially in our business where you've got a huge piece of capital, i.e. your factories, and men sitting, waiting. You need predictability, you need to understand what's coming down the track. Sharing intelligent client-based practice across the public sector, again, a big challenge. Some are better at it than others. They need to share some more of that best practice. And then the R&D funding, which is pretty key. So talk a little bit about digital construction. BIM, we're all aware of this. We're ArchiCAD users because we've been on this sort of 3D digital journey for about 10 years, being sort of steel engineering. Prior to that, we used a lot of systems and programs. But the key messages on BIM are effective collaboration, shorter design periods, which are critical for off-site construction. We need that design sign-off very, very early. Some may see that as a disadvantage. There's a lack of flexibility there. Others may see that as certainty in terms of programme and cost. Streamlining of processes, not only between client and contractor, but also internally within the business in terms of delivering the project quickly and effectively, and improved client engagement. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. So the VR piece, really innovative, really fun. Dag mentioned fun a couple of times in his presentation, and that level of engagement we get with our clients based on VR is invaluable. Especially building schools, where our stakeholders typically are bursars and school principals and heads of trust. They don't understand 2D drawings. So the 3D VR allows a real interactive, totally immersive experience and helps people to visualize the buildings that we're going to build for them. We've experimented in a number of ways, beyond just having a VR hub in the factory where people come and put the headset on. We're looking at it from a practical point of view and also from a project delivery point of view. So we've trialled this multi-user VR on a particular scheme recently, a large school project in London, where all of the stakeholders, all of the actors, rather than us putting bunches of people on planes every Monday morning and flying design teams and project teams over and back through the detailed design stage, we can do it from a virtual environment where all of the actors have their headsets on and we can make real-time design changes to the project. We use it for staff training. We do a lot of inherently risky processes in terms of our manufacturing, lifting heavy components and pieces of steel and shipping and logistics and so on. So we can do a lot of this training using VR, which again is a fun thing. This is very exciting. This is the next stage, taking VR and BIM to the next level from a production point of view. Again, Dag mentioned it with the, I don't know what photographers are going to do in the future when the classic PR photograph was somebody holding a big A1 drawing and pointing at a line drawing. Now it's iPads and you've already shown that. So this augmented reality is going to become more prevalent in our business. Alan and Barry were up recently and there's a workstation at the top of every production area where they've got a whiteboard area and tons of AO drawings, thick bundles of them, and the challenge is always about trying to keep them contemporary and live and up to date. And what AR does with this Daiquiri Smart Helmet is that it actually beams the design information to the screen in front of the guys on their hard hat. So they're not referring to a drawing all the time. They're looking and they can see where the track and the stud and the frame and the steel and the walls and the M&E actually are before it's actually built, and can help with that production process. We're well aware of this. This is countrywide. There's some lowlights really from last year. Almost 10,000 people homeless in Dublin as of June last year. An increase of nearly 3,000 from December 2014. 110 rough sleepers in Dublin. 2,600 people living in hotels, costing Dublin City Council nearly €50 million a year to put them up. Rents have increased significantly. Supply and demand clearly having a bearing on that. And we need 480,000 new homes in Ireland by 2031. That's an average of 34,000 units a year, and last year we built 10,000, so we are very far behind the curve. So, McAvoy, traditionally servicing education, healthcare, and commercial markets. I remember getting a letter from Dublin City Council in 2015 inviting us down to show our wares, show our residential product. We weren't in the market at that stage. I wrote a letter back and thanked them and wished them all the best. And I think what happened at that point was that the industry in Ireland, the offsite industry, and I use that in inverted commas, came down with a bunch of porta cabins that looked like houses. There was no cognizance of regulation, there was no cognizance of design. That was the solution, and that was a pretty damning indictment of our industry in Ireland in general terms. So anyway, we realised through analysis of the sectors that it was, and the aspiration to grow the business, that housing was a natural market for us to move into. So we designed a prototype with Queen's University. We built the prototype. We got BOPAS certification on that prototype in June 2018. David will be pleased to know that we're very much on board with BRE certification. And likewise, some challenges around that, as well as NSAI Agrimont certification in Ireland, which clearly will be complementary. And just tying that all together will be part of the challenge. Then we went out and got a contract for 40 units for an a housing association called Joymount. Why did we pick that project? Well, it demonstrated a number of things to us and for us to show our customers. Main contractor design and build, site remediation, a number of different structural systems in terms of the product, and again, just to demonstrate, we took it from REBA stage 0 right through to delivery, which is actually happening as we speak. So the baseline design of the prototype house, this isn't architecturally stunning by any stretch, but at the end of the day, this is a 3-bed, 5-person, 1,000 square foot house. This is the bulk of the market. This is the bulk of the demand for in the market. It's 6 modules, 2 on the ground floor, 2 on the first floor, and 2 roof modules, which are prefab timber trusses. Steel frame cost about £120,000. So there's the model of the light gauge steel frame structure. That's it when it came into the factory. Dermot Healy from Curtains saw this firsthand, shook his head and a sharp intake of breath and said, "That's over-designed." And he was right, because it was a prototype. We have since, you'd be pleased to know, rationalised that a little bit, taken some cost out of it and innovated the system. So currently it comes in from the UK on the left-hand side as a pack, and we then erect it like so. The investment in the new factory in England, which I referenced earlier on, we will roll our own. We will have cutting, and we will have beds, we will have systems where the galvanised steel will come in, and we will roll our own, just to, again, straight to line. There's the prototype in the factory, kind of a surreal experience at the time, walking around it when there's 150 men doing their work outside. But again, certification, light gauge steel frame, because that's what we do. So we use BIM clearly to develop the design for the prototype, help us to engage with the client, and to make changes to the layout quickly and simply. The physical prototype actually acts as a great advertisement. It's something we'll more than likely put in the Irish Innovation Park if we get there, and I'm confident that we will. We've redefined the term moving house because that prototype has actually been moved 4 times. It's been moved twice in the factory, went to the site for the PR for Clanmill, and it now has its not quite final resting place in our Lisburn factory, because I hope to sell it at some stage. But I think Alan and Barry can testify that you wouldn't know that it had been moved 4 times. And it is a distinctly underwhelming experience, I have to say. Anybody's very welcome to come up and have a look at this. It's, I have a key. The weekend's party I had has all been cleared up. But as I say, it's underwhelming because people, they don't know what to expect. The word prefab and modular, 2 words we've taken out of our lexicon, I might add. We talk about offsite construction. We've trade registered the word smart offsite because the words modular and prefab have such negative connotations, and I'm going straight to HR, Sean, to ask them to put an ad out for an offsite psychologist or whatever that role is. He'll be worth his weight in gold. Yeah, look, it looks like a house, it feels like a house, and it sounds like a house because it's a house. So we layered it. If I just hit the button again, does the video play? Yeah, there we go. So this is the AR working with the actual live house. So you can see the steel frame. You can see the M&E working away there. You can see the floor joists. You can see the light gauge steel frame, ground floor and first floor. Deceptively spacious and no compromise in terms of the size. Design-wise, it's linear, it's right-angled, two on the ground floor, two on the first floor. That's fundamental for us. We need to be, the industry needs to be involved much earlier in the design process. It's no good coming with a 300-unit development that's already been designed traditionally with 12 different house types on it, because that's 12 different bespoke, unique designs that we would have to create in order to sorry, excuse the giant hand there. Somebody else was just a bit of a jape. But it's about standardisation. It's about that volume. Being involved at the design stage is key to again maximise that productivity. So Joymount, Clanmill Housing Association are our client. We engage with them extremely early. We partnered with them and we're collaborating with them on a daily basis. So it's the first volumetric off-site housing project in Northern Ireland. 40 units in total, a combination of terraced houses, 2- and 3-storey apartment blocks and single-storey assisted living. No. So anybody who's been to Carrickfergus, it's a lovely place geographically. It has its social problems. We're hoping that this will help to mitigate some of those. Freudian slip. So you're not far away from a 1,000-year-old Norman castle there. You're right on Belfast Lough. It's prime real estate. Unfortunately, wasn't that prime when we started digging holes in the ground. It was full of asbestos, but that's the world in which we live in. This is a piece by BBC Newsline.
The home that can be assembled in just one day. It's hoped it will help reduce the waiting list for social housing. These are factory-made homes which can be assembled in just one day, and for the first time they're being used in social housing here. The organisation behind the project says their use will reduce the waiting time for low-rent homes. This report from our business correspondent, Julian O'Neill.
It looks like any normal house, only rather than being constructed brick by brick, it was manufactured in modular units at a factory in Lisburn. Production is underway and the prototype has been driven to Carrickfergus, where next spring 40 houses and apartments will make up a new development run by Clanmill Housing.
We get certainty and deliverability in time and money, but more importantly, people and families get homes quicker, and you can't do value.
The homes come decorated and furnished. This one cost about £120,000 and is finished with a brick facade slipped over its steel frame. Some housing organisations in Britain already do things this way and see speed of delivery as key to addressing growing demands for rental housing.
We have a major housing crisis. If we're ever to meet that and fill the gap, we're going to have to build much more quickly than we're doing. And modular is going to be absolutely essential for that.
The company making the houses already uses similar techniques in the commercial sector.
Our houses are built to the same building regulations and legal requirements as any house built, what you might call traditional or, as you would say, off-site.
The project will take months to do instead of well over a year, and once the site is prepared and the houses manufactured, they can be assembled in a day.
This is not a new way of building things, but it is a novel approach when it comes to social housing in Northern Ireland. Ultimately, this project will deliver 40 new homes in about 9 months' time, twice as quick as if they had been built the old-fashioned way. Julian O'Neill, BBC Newsline, Carrickfergus.
I think Clanmill need to hire our PR consultant, because whilst that was Clanmill's piece, they didn't get an awful lot of it. We got a lot of subliminal branding there, so But you know, a really subjective or objective piece, I should say, and it generated an awful lot of interest. And I think actually what it did for us as a business was help define who our customer base actually is, or we would like it to be. We've got a lot of small developers with 20, 30, 40 units coming to the door asking, how cheap is it? You know, that was the only thing they were interested in. And I think when we extrapolated out that scenario to say, right, fine, you like the product, you like the price, I build them all for you in 4 months and I won't pay for them all. Well, how does that sit? And well, you know, we only build and sell one a week. So it didn't work for them financially. So the proposition has to be right. The market requirement is different depending on the subsector. So volume is key for the industry. Standardisation is key. Are housing associations right? Again, procurement is also one of the fundamental things we need to consider. We actually got, well, if we talk a little about that Clonmel process, we tendered it. We were 20% more expensive than the traditional contractor, but we knew that the outturn costs were never the tender costs in normal procurement of social houses in Northern Ireland. Clonmel recognised that because anecdotally they had just awarded a contractor a price based on his lowest price, raced at the bottom, and within 3 months they had 127 compensation events on their desk. So that's just not conducive to working collaboratively, or surely not good value for the public purse. Join mount, initially we thought 88% offsite, like H steel frame, and we thought this balance then would be concrete, reinforced concrete, because it's circulation within apartments. But we since innovated, and the whole thing is now offsite. So a little bit about what won it for us, if you like. Compare the two processes, traditional versus offsite. Design's the same. There's no advantage in terms of design, because we still need to employ all the same experts, acoustic and fire and structural and architectural. That detailed design work is incredibly important, clearly, because we need to hit the ground running, get the materials ordered for the factory and start manufacturing. This is where the benefit really kicks in, because we can do a lot of things simultaneously. So site works are happening at the same time as we're building. We can then phase the deliveries and essentially overlap a number of key tasks, which essentially delivers us a 60% time saving in terms of the overall project. So that was what was very appealing to Clonmel. Not only would they realise revenue much earlier in the cycle than traditional, but they were also ticking one of their social charters, which was getting people into new homes. So using the same system, the same light gauge steel frame 2-block system, playing around, and we're at the early stages of this, developing standardisation, a common platform, to kind of use the BMW parlance, the CLAR system that they use, where 80% of the components in a 1 series are exactly the same as they are in a 7 series. So we have a long way to go, but it's the process is starting. It's the only way our industry is going to be able to deliver and continue to reduce costs. I think the general comment is that it's too expensive still currently, and there is a bit of a premium to pay. And it's incumbent on us as an industry, because I think the capacity is not quite there yet, to increase capacity, increase investment in capital and buildings and investment and technology in order to widen the options for purchase. So here's a number of different concept designs. Again, all using the same DNA, can look very contemporary, change the elevations, change the roof type, change the design, and you get some markedly different types of buildings. 2-bed and 3-bed, again, same system, just slightly reduced in size. We're working currently up to 18 metres for one type of system. Then obviously the new regulations, non-combustible materials above 18 metres, take us up to sort of above 7 stories. Again, that's another system that we're currently developing in terms of design. Mid-rise apartments. I think in Dublin the general appetite is for much larger scale build to rent and PRS, and that's where we see the opportunity for Offsite really delivering some value. But again, the challenge is scaling up and having the capacity to deliver, because you've got the procurement paradox, where you've got the client saying, I need assurance of supply, and then us on the other side going, we need assurance of demand. How do you get those two to trust one another and to talk together and to actually come up with a plan to deliver. So capacity is the issue. You know, I know one particular developer has nearly 13,000 units in his pipeline, and construction inflation in Dublin is currently 7% a year. You cannot get trades, and you know, clearly in principle Offsite works, but it's whether or not practically and from a capacity point of view we can actually deliver to those levels of expectation. Again, working on the standardisation of systems and components, repetition floor after floor after floor. Dermot Healy's done a lot of good work on this for Dublin City Council, where you know, he understood the importance of that repetition floor by floor, so that we're not spending additional monies on hot rolled steel and different structural systems. So just to finish then, the benefits of the Offsite solution: increased collaboration, and it's fundamental, and I'm going to reiterate it again in terms of the maturity and the insight shown by some UK government departments, where they're working collaboratively with us. They're showing us a pipeline, they're helping us to invest in the product in order to gain advantage and in order to deliver them more schools on time. Standardisation is key. We're less dependent on site skills, which we've mentioned. Improved quality. It's a factory controlled process. It's highly engineered. The operatives are highly skilled. Clearly health and safety benefits. Improved logistics, less deliveries, therefore having a positive impact on carbon emissions. Cost certainty and programme certainty, two of the key drivers for most clients. You'll get it when we say you're going to get it, and it's going to cost what we say it was going to cost at the outset. Reduced programme and a quicker return on investment. Thank you.